Hi everyone, it's great to be part of this summit and to see so many experts from around the world come together and discuss ways we can better protect young people from the harmful effects of pornography. We need to implement strategies to keep kids safe online. We also need to protect them from the predatory and exploitative companies which sexualize them for profit from the moment they're born with objectifying, porn-themed ads and promotion material. I'm Renee Chopping, a member of Collective Shout's campaign strategy team. We devise and run campaigns challenging the objectification of women and the sexualization of girls in media, advertising, and pop culture. More broadly, we engage with issues relating to other forms of sexploitation, including the interconnected industries of pornography, prostitution, trafficking, and live distant child abuse. We recognise these issues exist on a continuum of harm, and our advocacy work highlights the links between porn culture and violence against women. We empower our supporters to speak out, thus amplifying our campaigns nationally and globally. And our vision is to see a world free of sexploitation where the objectification of women and the sexualization of girls is unthinkable. Since launching in 2010, we've achieved a significant number of wins. Billboards objectifying women pulled down, inappropriate clothing for children withdrawn, violent games banned, sexist lads magazines have gone under, and child sex abuse dolls pulled from online sale. In this presentation, I'll be sharing some key campaign successes and the strategies behind them. I'll then talk about our work with young people. A quick trigger warning before I get started. Some of the slides contain references to violence against women and child sexual abuse, so please be sure to look after yourself, step away if you need to, reach out to someone you can talk to following the presentation. So kicking off with one of our biggest global successes, our Alibaba campaign. In 2020, we exposed trillion-dollar mega e-commerce platform Alibaba for profiting from the sale of child sex abuse dolls modelled on the bodies of prepubescent girls, toddlers, and babies on its platform. Our team's 2-week investigation, including going undercover as interested buyers, found large numbers of replica child dolls marketed as young girl, flat chest, and sex dolls for men sold by multiple sellers on the platform. Some dolls as small as 65 centimeters, the size of a 6-month-old baby. The discoveries came just after my colleague and Collective Shout campaigns manager, Caitlin Roper, gave an online presentation. Better a robot than a real child. She was responding to arguments in support of child sex dolls. In her talk, Caitlin highlighted the harms of child sex abuse dolls for real children. Caitlin is a doctoral candidate researching the global trade in sex dolls and robots, and in a piece published by the ABC Religion and Ethics, she wrote, "Child sex dolls harm children through legitimizing and normalizing their sexual use. Instead of satisfying users' sexual appetites for children, they could encourage and even strengthen these urges." It is illegal to import and possess child sex abuse dolls in Australia. Penalties include fines up to $450,000 and 10 years imprisonment. Even though illegal, Australian Border Force has reported a 653% increase in seizures of these products in the past 2 years. So we documented the listings being sold by 23 China-based factories, which, as well as replica lifelike child sex dolls and replica child body parts, included realistic and anatomically correct babies. Through our social media platforms, we called on Alibaba's corporate heads to stop facilitating and profiting from the growing trade in this abhorrent merchandise. We named Alibaba's executives alongside censored images of child sex dolls and body parts. We targeted major credit card companies, secure money transfer companies, which received a cut from child sex doll transactions. These included Visa, MasterCard, PayPal, Western Union, and MoneyGram. We issued a media statement which attracted global media attention. We reached out to the Australian and New Zealand lifestyle ambassador of Alibaba, who is also the daughter of a prominent former Labor Prime Minister, and her support further amplified our campaign. And of course, we encouraged our supporters to boycott the company and to speak out by sharing our posts and tagging Alibaba corporate heads on social media. 2 weeks after our global exposure of this unethical trade, Alibaba executives made contact pledging to remove all child sex doll listings from their website. The company removed and penalised merchants in breach of its policies, blocking the sale of dolls modelled on the bodies of prepubescent girls, toddlers, and babies. Alibaba publicly commended our work with them and invited us to continue collaborating to ensure this never happens again. As a result of our ongoing positive working relationship, we announced late last year that Alibaba has gone even further, geo-blocking sales of all sex dolls to Australia and the US. In a statement, the company said Alibaba.com and AliExpress have voluntarily removed the sale of all sex dolls to users in Australia. We appreciate the support of Collective Shout and the broader community as part of the ongoing battle against the exploitation of women and children. This has been a huge win for us to celebrate, and we commend Alibaba's demonstration of corporate social responsibility and their decision to put ethics above profit. They've set a solid example for other companies to follow. We are now leveraging this win to pressure popular e-commerce platform Etsy to follow Alibaba's lead and remove child sex abuse dolls and incest-themed merchandise from their platform. A petition headed by Collective Shout supporter Anna Cordell is now approaching 60,000 signatures. Pornhub and its parent company MindGeek are the target of a global campaign of which we're part of. A collaboration spearheaded by Lila Micklethwait, uniting with the aim of shutting down Pornhub and holding its executives accountable for enabling, distributing, and profiting from rape, child abuse, sex trafficking, and image-based abuse, often called revenge porn. We backed Lila's petition, calling for an investigation into MindGeek, which reached a staggering 2 million signatures, and we made a submission to the Canadian Parliament's Ethics Committee inquiry. We were signatories to a joint letter calling on MasterCard to stop processing payments on Pornhub, and our movement director Melinda Tenkar-Rees was part of a private briefing with MasterCard executives in which she provided evidence of harms to women in the industry. We are now backing a class action against MindGeek filed by our partners at the National Centre on Sexual Exploitation Law Centre on behalf of survivors. Since then, Pornhub announced it has removed the download button and will only allow uploads from verified users, and has reportedly removed 10.6 million videos not uploaded by verified users. MasterCard and Visa blocked its services, cutting ties with Pornhub. Streaming site Roku revised its policy, effectively banning Pornhub and other porn sites. Major porn tubes like Xtube was permanently shut down. Pornhub, YouPorn, and Xhamster are due to be closed down in Germany for refusing to protect children via required age verification procedures. Budget shopping app Wish demanded MindGeek ad agency Traffic Junkie remove its logo after misrepresenting a partnership between them. And Canadian MPs have called for executives at Pornhub to stand before Parliament, where they will ask them if they intend to make reparations. Some of our work holding big tech accountable includes a 2-year investigation led by our campaigner and CSR expert Lynn Swanson-Kennedy, who exposed Instagram's rampant sexualization of minors and highlighted the way Instagram, owned by Facebook, is geared toward connecting men to underage girls. Sexualization, grooming, and harassment of underage girls on Instagram is rampant. Instagram gives adults unfettered access to children, facilitating the transmission of sexual comments, including requests for sexual images from men to girls. It is complicit in putting underage girls at risk and normalizing them as available for sexual gratification. Facebook's predator problem will only be exacerbated by the rollout of end-to-end encryption. Law enforcement authorities estimate 70% of child sex abuse material would go undetected if encryption goes ahead on the platform. If implemented, end-to-end encryption will protect child predators and put children at increased risk of abuse and sexual exploitation. This would violate Facebook's professed commitment to child safety. So we joined a global coalition calling on Meta chief Mark Zuckerberg to dump its end-to-end encryption plans. Our team reported thousands of Instagram and dozens of Twitter accounts to the National Center on Missing and Exploited Children for sexualization, exploitation, and predatory activity. We launched an international joint campaign with the National Center on Sexual Exploitation, Defend Dignity, and Courtney's House to call on Instagram to improve its policies. We called that Instagram must change its settings so that strangers cannot direct message minors. Instagram must fix its algorithm to proactively remove sexualizing or sexually graphic comments on minors' photos. And Instagram must update its reporting system so that if someone is reporting a sexual comment on a minor's post, it can be reported as such. The harassment bullying section does not capture the fact that these comments come from adults who are grooming, sexualizing, or harassing a child. Our numerous submissions have highlighted the harms to children facilitated by the vested interest of the tech industry. And we've also taken part in meetings with Instagram executives and campaign partners, which we pressed for more changes. A movement director, MTR, and campaigner, Lynn Kennedy, were invited to join a private briefing of federal MPs by former Facebook employee and whistleblower Frances Hagan. Just last month, they also gave evidence before a federal inquiry into the harms of social media. In response to our joint campaign, Instagram rolled out new safety measures for teens, including default privacy settings for under 16s, blocking suspicious accounts from finding teens, restricting direct messages between teens and adults they don't follow, and prompting teens to set their accounts to private. New parental controls will also be rolled out in March. Hundreds of predator accounts have been removed as a result of our investigations. Instagram announced it was putting plans for Instagram for kids under 12 on hold. And Facebook parent company Meta announced it was delaying the rollout of end-to-end encryption across messaging platforms until at least 2023. There's still a lot of work to do in this space, but we have been greatly encouraged by the progress made as a result of our collaborative efforts. For over 10 years, we have lobbied for age verification, the need for proof of age protections to safeguard our children from porn exposure. Movement Director Melinda Tankard-Reist has spoken extensively on the devastating impacts of pornography on children and young people. This has never happened before, says MTR, where children are coming across rape porn, incest and torture porn, sadism, extreme degradation of women, primarily at the click of a button at increasingly younger ages. We are hearing stories of 6, 7, 8, 9-year-olds being exposed to this hardcore content, and many are surprised to learn that there is nothing in place to protect children from this content. The vested interest of a multi-billion-dollar industry whose business model relies on building the next generation of consumers can no longer be put before the well-being of children and the community. With 44% of children between 9 and 16 reporting that they have encountered sexual images online, a parliamentary committee in Australia launched an inquiry into the effectiveness of age verification systems on pornographic and gambling websites. In submissions, advocacy, media engagements, and public presentations, we have called on the Australian government to implement a system that would provide a layer of protection for children vulnerable to the predatory porn industry. Our recommendations include that the federal government must act to uphold Australia's international obligations to protect children from abuse, exploitation, and developmental harm by acknowledging that exposure to online pornography amounts to abuse, exploitation, and harm. They must urgently introduce an age verification system to restrict children's access to online pornography and limit the global porn industry's unfettered access to children, while also supporting other measures to limit porn exposure to children, including education programs and improved internet service provider filters. MTR provided evidence at the committee's hearings in 2019, making the case for age verification as a significant and necessary part of a multi-pronged approach to protecting children. After years of calling for a system to protect children from exposure to porn, the federal government announced last year that it had instructed the eSafety Commissioner to come up with a roadmap for the rollout of a new system. We have participated in roundtable and related consultations as part of this process. We are now pressuring the government to fast-track an age verification system, encouraging our supporters to contact their MP election candidate, calling on them to act more quickly. We are also backing a petition led by federal member Julian Simmons, who is also calling for an expedited age verification system. A few more victories we've celebrated here in Australia include the binning of 3 lads magazines. Our campaign to get sexploitation magazine Sue Weekly pulled from Coles, which is a major supermarket chain here in Australia, was successful thanks to the help of a young employee who, with the support of her union, told Coles it was creating a hostile work environment by requiring young women like herself to sell the magazine and to see boys ogling the magazines in store. Coles subsequently pulled the title, which resulted in the plummeting of sales for the magazine and saw the publication cease in 2015. Zoo Weekly devoted its final cover to us, which you can see here, and we wear this as a badge of honour. In 2019, we revived the campaign, this time focusing on porn titles The Picture and People magazine, which had been published in Australia for 80 years. The renewed campaign was prompted by one of our team members, Melinda Lashevsky, who walked into a 7-Eleven store and was confronted with the headline, X-rated Aussie teens 18 and 19-year-olds strip, on the cover of People magazine. We went through the titles and discovered the fetishizing of schoolgirls, encouraging sexual fantasies for fresh young flesh, the extolling of nurses and female tennis players as existing for male gratification and pleasure, and racially eroticized Asian women. We asked how content like this could be permitted in a society that claimed to care about the status of women. We made the point that a sexist culture was grooming sexist boys and that these titles were normalizing that idea and that magazines like this act as porn training wheels. Our rapid-fire social media campaign, highlighting the content and the failure of 7-Eleven to exercise corporate social responsibility, along with correspondence with the CEO, resulted in 7-Eleven pulling porn titles, Picture and People from 700 stores 3 weeks later. BP service stations soon followed, removing the titles from 350 of its stores. Following a positive meeting with Brendan Hill, Bauer Media Group's then CEO, Bauer released a statement announcing that People and Picture magazines would be axed for good. Since then, we've heard from thousands of supporters celebrating this significant win for women and girls. For more than a decade, wicked camper vans had spread their harmful anti-woman messages through degrading artwork and slogans across Australian roads. The company was notorious for its sexually explicit slogans and imagery, some advocating rape and extreme violence against women, including murder. A 10-year history of activism against wicked campers included petitions, persuading Lonely Planet to dump endorsement of the company, a successful collaboration within an Australian music festival to ban entry of all wicked vans, and ongoing lobbying of MPs. Our campaign and lobbying efforts resulted in state transport ministers agreeing to uniform legislation to deregister their campers if they didn't abide by ad standards rulings. Many of our supporters contacted us about Little Outrageous Littles, or LOL dolls, after parents discovered that some of the dolls in the range were designed to reveal underwear, some bondage style with running mascara when dipped in cold water. The addition of running mascara being particularly sinister given the prevalence of this look in pornography. We campaigned against 3 major Australian retail chains to remove these dolls from sale, making the argument that sexualized children's toys like LOL dolls harm kids. They present toxic, archaic messages to girls about how they should look and what they should wear. The way the dolls are designed, heavy makeup, sexualized clothing and underwear, mimic the sexualized way adult women are portrayed in advertising and pornography. They shape girls' ideas about their own value, purpose and aspirations, limiting girls' options to pursuits which ultimately satisfy men's sexual desires. Within a month of our campaign, all 3 retailers released a statement saying they would no longer be selling these products in their stores. Trailer advertisements for Dollhouse Showgirl Strip Club featuring a completely naked woman were located in a suburban area parked on a busy road where buses and cars carry children to and from school. The local primary school was less than 500 metres from this location, and children would have had to either walk or navigate their bikes along the pathway beside the trailer to get to and from school. After we shared information about this on Facebook, we received a message from a concerned parent who told us about the impact of these travelling sex trade billboards, sharing how their daughter was exposed to hardcore porn by just Googling the name of the establishment. Dollhouse Showgirls doesn't even pretend to have age verification, meaning children can access pornography within seconds. We argued that this is a violation of women's and children's rights. After encouraging our supporters to speak out, we heard from the Office of Liquor and Gaming Regulation in Queensland, who informed us they would be investigating the matter and taking steps to make sure these signs would be removed from this location. Due to the high volume of complaints they received, the regulator went even further and conducted a review of all adult entertainment advertising across the state, saying they wanted to hear from any concerned members of the community about advertisements in their area. We were greatly encouraged by this response, which was yet another testament to the power of collectively speaking out. Sex discrimination, sexual harassment, sexual assault, and other forms of violence against women do not take place in a vacuum. These problems are perpetuated by a culture that sees women as sexual objects rather than full human beings deserving of respect, equal treatment, and participation. Sexual objectification dehumanizes women and is one of the driving forces behind the sexist attitudes that underscore discrimination, harassment, and violence against women. Our successes are a result of the strategic campaigning, collaboration, and the education and engagement of our supporters. It is our collective voice that places pressure where needed to create positive cultural change. I'll finish up with an overview of the work we're doing with young people across Australia. We see our work with youth as integral to the movement of ending sexploitation. As young people continue to navigate pornified imagery and sexualized messaging, we must provide them with an alternative view to sexuality and relationships and teach them how to be critical of the sexualized messages that bombard them daily. MTR and Collective Shout's youth advocate Daniel Principe address thousands of young people each year in schools and youth events. Their presentations help young people navigate a sexed up world, reject sexual pressure, enforce personal boundaries, act in accordance with their values, and aspire to relationships based on mutual respect and empathy. For years, MTR has been collecting messages from girls that they want to pass on to boys. The messages I'll share with you here were relayed not so long ago to MTR by 12 and 13-year-old girls at just one school in Western Australia. We are 13. Don't treat us as porn stars. Don't threaten to hurt yourself if we don't send you a pic. Don't call us names and make fun of our bodies because we don't look like the girls you watch in porn. We are afraid to be in a relationship because no one knows what a real relationship is. We take everything you are saying seriously and it hurts us. Can we have a normal conversation for once without it being affected by sexual references? No means no. We are human. Things are getting worse and getting worse younger, says MTR. This is the daily reality, one they think is normal and that they just have to endure. These quotes are just a sample of what girls have shared with MTR over the years, highlighting how pervasive our sexualized culture really is. I do want to leave you on a positive note though. So here are a few quotes that were shared with MTR and Daniel following various presentations and workshops they have run with students. We can change things. We are worth more. My best friend and I were almost in tears because we have both been subject to sexual harassment, but we now feel so empowered knowing it's okay to stand up for ourselves. And I just want to say thank you for the confidence that you gave me and so many other girls. You have inspired me to stand up and help other girls who are being mistreated. I learned to respect women. I learned porn ruins thoughts towards women. This talk felt more real and practical than anything in PDHP. The world has ruined what love is. We need to make a stand. We've also had numerous young people get involved with our work, including a 13-year-old girl who initiated the campaign against Starving for Style DFO billboard, and a group of 15-year-old girls who led a campaign against skincare company Frank Body for their Send Nudes product. When young people absorb the message of what it looks like to live in accordance with their values, they act on it. And this is the real hope of cultural change. Thank you for taking the time to hear about some of our work. Hopefully this has been an encouragement to you for the change that is possible. For more info on all we are currently doing, be sure to follow us on our socials. We're across Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And you're welcome to contact me, Renee at collectiveshout.org, if you have any questions or would like any further information.